Hey everyone, Global Travel Venture here. We all love a good travel adventure, right? The thrill of exploring new places, experiencing different cultures, the joy of finally using that neck pillow. It's the best. But your travel dreams could hit a snag. We're talking about the dreaded no-fly list. Turns out it's a real thing, and getting on it is easier than you think. So buckle up, friends, because we're diving deep into the wild world of the no-fly list. Let's talk about fashion faux pas at the airport. We've all been there, right? Debating if those sweatpants are airport acceptable. Your airport style could be the difference between boarding and staying grounded. Can you get banned for your outfit? Kind of. Airlines have dress codes, and pushing boundaries can raise eyebrows. Offensive language, overly revealing, or barefoot not allowed. Violations can lead to delays or being denied boarding. Nobody wants that, especially when heading to a vacation. So, err on the side of caution with your airport attire. Leave the free mustache rides tank top at home. Your fellow passengers will thank you. Now you might be thinking, GTV, this all sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, I wouldn't wear a swimsuit to a board meeting, so why would I wear it on a plane? And you'd be right. But here's where things get interesting. Sometimes it's not just about what you're wearing, but the way you're wearing it. Take, for example, the story of a man who was reportedly flagged for wearing saggy pants. Apparently, his choice of attire was deemed disruptive and offensive by some fellow passengers. Now, whether you agree with the airline's decision or not, it highlights an important point. Airport fashion can be subjective. There have been cases of people being flagged for wearing clothing that could be perceived as a security threat. Remember, airport security is all about safety, and if something seems out of place, they're going to investigate it. When it comes to airport fashion, it's not just about looking good. It's about being mindful and respectful. Because the last thing you want is for your fashion choices to turn your dream vacation into a fashion felony. Alright folks, let's talk about air rage. Those viral videos of passengers losing their cool mid-flight, they're a real problem. Air rage has serious consequences. Most people are delightful to fly with. But travel stress can get to anyone. Taking it out on flight attendants? Never the answer. Assaulting a flight attendant is a serious crime. So take a deep breath and treat yourself to an extra bag of pretzels. Because the only thing that should be taking off is your plane. Now I know what you're thinking, GTV, you're making me paranoid. I'm never going to ask for a blanket again. The vast majority of interactions are perfectly pleasant. Politely asking for a drink refill? Totally fine. Screaming at a flight attendant? Not so much. It's all about communication and respect. Remember, flight attendants are there for your safety and comfort. Be kind, be patient, and remember, kindness goes a long way. Alright friends, buckle up because we're about to dive into the wild world of skiplagging. Now this isn't your average travel hack, it's a bit more sly. Skiplagging is when you book a flight with a layover, but never intend to take that second flight. Book a cheaper flight from New York to Los Angeles with a layover in Chicago. Get off in Chicago, save money, and ditch the Chicago to LA leg. Genius? Not so fast. Airlines are catching on and are not thrilled. Getting caught could mean hefty fines, being banned, or landing on the no-fly list. Now, you might be thinking, but GTV, it's my ticket, I bought it fair and square, why can't I just get off the plane wherever I want? And it's a valid question. But here's the thing. Airlines have these things called contracts of carriage, which are basically the rules you agree to when you buy a ticket. Think of it like this. You buy a ticket to a concert, but instead of watching the whole show, you decide to leave halfway through. You wouldn't expect a refund, right? Well, airlines see skiplagging in a similar light. They've sold you a ticket for a specific route, and deviating from that route is technically breaking your agreement. Plus, there are logistical concerns too. When you skiplag, you're essentially taking up a seat that someone else could have booked, potentially causing headaches for other passengers and the airline. So, while it might seem like a harmless way to save a few bucks, skiplagging is a gamble that could have some seriously unpleasant consequences. Okay, travelers, it's time to address the elephant in the room, the one we all hope to avoid at all costs, being suspected of terrorist activity. I don't need to tell you this is serious business. We're not talking about a slap on the wrist here, we're talking about life-altering consequences. Being suspected of terrorism often leads to immediate placement on the no-fly list, and getting off that list is like trying to climb Mount Everest barefoot. incredibly difficult and with no guarantee of success. You're looking at intense scrutiny, background checks, and a long, arduous process to clear your name. And it's not just about flying. Being on a watch list can impact your life in countless ways, from employment opportunities to even just crossing borders. It's a heavy burden to bear, and the impact on your personal and professional life can be devastating. Now I know what you're thinking. GTV, I'm a law-abiding citizen, I have nothing to hide. But sometimes things happen beyond our control. Maybe you have a common name or your travel plans raise a red flag, so what can you do? First, be aware of your surroundings and behavior. Avoid making jokes about sensitive topics, especially in airports or on planes. Second, be mindful of your online presence. Avoid posting anything that could be misconstrued. And finally, if questioned or detained, stay calm, be respectful, and know your rights. Alright, travel enthusiasts, let's talk about something that might sound a little unsettling, traveling to certain countries and how that can raise red flags. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone's wanderlust or tell you where you can and can't go, but the reality is that certain travel patterns can raise eyebrows, especially if they involve countries with a history of conflict or terrorism. Think about it from the perspective of security agencies. If someone's travel history shows frequent trips to regions known for instability, it might pique their interest. It's not necessarily a reason for alarm, but it could lead to increased scrutiny and additional checks. Now, I'm not saying you should avoid these places altogether. Traveling to different parts of the world is an incredible experience, and it's important to promote cultural exchange and understanding. But it's crucial to be aware that your travel choices can have consequences, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. So, what can you do to avoid any unnecessary complications? First and foremost, do your research. Before you book that ticket to a far-off land, take some time to learn about the country's political climate, any travel advisories, and the general security situation. The more informed you are, the better prepared you'll be. Secondly, be mindful of your online presence. Social media can be a great way to share your travel adventures, but it's important to be cautious about what you post, especially if you're visiting a country with strict laws or a history of censorship. And finally, if you do find yourself facing extra scrutiny at the airport, remember to stay calm, be polite, and cooperate with authorities. Having a clear understanding of your itinerary, your reasons for travel, and any relevant documentation can go a long way in easing any concerns. Remember, traveling to new and exciting places is a wonderful thing, but it's always better to err on the side of caution and be prepared for anything. Words have power, but did you know they could also ground you? You betcha. A slip of the tongue, even a joke, can land you in hot water with the TSA. Instead of boarding a plane, you're boarding a one-way ticket to Interrogation Central. Let's talk about the importance of choosing your words carefully, especially when you're within a mile of a security checkpoint. Remember those "see something, say something" posters? Well, it turns out they might apply to you too. Even seemingly innocent phrases like mentioning a connection or asking about security protocols can raise eyebrows. I know, it sounds like we're living in a sitcom where everyone's a little too sensitive, but unfortunately, these are real-life consequences. It's all about perspective. What seems perfectly normal to you might sound suspicious to someone else, especially when you're talking about air travel. So bottom line, keep your conversations light and breezy at the airport. Stick to discussing your vacation plans, your favorite travel snacks, or maybe even the weather. And remember, a little bit of caution goes a long way in ensuring a smooth and uneventful journey to your dream destination. You're all set to jet off on an amazing adventure, but then you're told, "I'm sorry, but you're on the no-fly list. You've never committed any crime." Turns out you've got a name twin who's been a very naughty traveler. Your shared name is causing serious turbulence in your travel plans. It's a bureaucratic nightmare that could leave you stranded. And now for the million-dollar question, what do you do if you're grounded because of a name on the no-fly list? First things first, don't panic. Contact the TSA Traveler Redress Inquiry Program, TRIP. Gather documentation and be patient. With persistence, you can reclaim your freedom to fly. Imagine this. You're sipping your coffee when you're approached by a mysterious figure from a government agency. They need your help. Just a little information about someone you might know. Refusing to cooperate can land you on the dreaded no-fly list. Refusing to cooperate with authorities can have serious consequences. Stay calm and don't feel pressured to answer questions on the spot. Politely decline and request to speak with an attorney. Seek legal counsel before answering any questions. Your safety and rights are paramount. You know that sinking feeling you get when you open your mailbox and find one of those "we regret to inform you" letters? Imagine that feeling, but it's the TSA telling you you can't board a plane. And the worst part? It's all because of a tiny clerical error. Suddenly you're on a watch list, so what can you do to avoid this? Okay, so you think you might be a victim of a clerical error? First things first, don't panic. It might feel like the sky is falling, but remember, even the most tangled bureaucratic webs can be unraveled. The key is to be proactive. Start by contacting the TSA and the Department of Homeland Security. I know, dealing with government agencies isn't exactly a walk in the park, but trust me, it's better than being grounded indefinitely. Make sure you have all your documentation in order, your government-issued ID, your travel itinerary, and any other relevant information that might help prove your case. And remember, patience is your best friend here. Navigating these waters can take time, so take a deep breath and try to stay positive. We all make mistakes, right? It's part of being human. But sometimes those mistakes can come back to haunt us in the most unexpected ways. Like when you're trying to board a flight for that long-awaited vacation. It turns out, past run-ins with the law, even minor ones, can raise red flags with airport security. Now, I'm not talking about jaywalking tickets here, but more serious offenses like convictions for assault, theft, or drug-related charges can definitely put a damper on your travel plans. Think of it like this. Airport security is kind of like that friend who always remembers your most embarrassing moments. They have a long memory and a knack for bringing up the past at the most inconvenient times. So what can you do if your past is casting a shadow over your travel aspirations? Well, the good news is, it's not necessarily a life sentence of staycations. Now, before you go canceling all your travel plans, remember, having a criminal record doesn't automatically disqualify you from flying. The rules and regulations vary depending on the severity of the offense and the country you're trying to enter. It's always a good idea to check with the embassy or consulate of your destination country to find out their specific entry requirements. And if you're unsure about your status, it's worth reaching out to a travel lawyer or legal expert who can provide guidance based on your individual circumstances. Remember, knowledge is power. The more informed you are about your rights and options, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the complexities of international travel with a criminal record. We live in the age of social media where everyone has a platform and an opinion. But here's the thing about the internet, it never forgets. Even your Twitter feed can land you on the no-fly list. Those 280 characters can have serious real-world consequences. So before you hit that tweet button, take a moment to consider the potential consequences. Now, I'm not saying you have to censor yourself entirely online, but it's crucial to be mindful of what you post, especially when it comes to topics that could raise red flags with airport security. Think about it this way. Would you shout that joke you just made on Twitter in the middle of a crowded airport terminal? If the answer is no, then it's probably best to keep it off social media too. Remember, airport security has a tough job to do, and they're often operating under immense pressure to keep travelers safe. So, it's understandable that they might err on the side of caution when it comes to potentially controversial online content. The bottom line is, think before you tweet, folks. Your future travel plans might just depend on it. Alright, we've all been there. Your flight's delayed and you think, hey, why not one for the road? But that one can turn into a one-way ticket to the no-fly list. Overindulging can lead to unfortunate in-flight incidents. Public intoxication, disruptive behavior. These things don't fly with the FAA. The consequences? Fines, bans, and even the no-fly list. So next time, hydrate, relax, and save the celebrating for later. Trust me, your future self will thank you. Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy a drink or two while you're traveling, but it's all about knowing your limits, folks, and respecting the fact that you're in a confined space with hundreds of other people. Remember, Alcohol affects everyone differently, especially at altitude. What might be a glass of wine for you could turn into a full-blown in-flight meltdown for someone else. Think about it. You're stuck on a plane 30,000 feet in the air with nowhere to go. The last thing you want is to be the reason for an unplanned landing or worse, putting yourself and others in danger. So, be responsible, enjoy your trip, and remember, a little moderation goes a long way, especially when you're aiming for a smooth flight. Alright, let's talk about something that should be common sense, but unfortunately isn't always: emergency exits on airplanes. Now, I know what you're thinking. GTV, it seems pretty obvious that you shouldn't mess with those things. And you'd be right. But you'd be surprised how many people, and I'm not exaggerating here, actually try to open those doors mid-flight. Maybe they're feeling claustrophobic, maybe they've mistaken it for the bathroom, or maybe they just really need some fresh air. Whatever the reason, let me be crystal clear. Tampering with an emergency exit is not a laughing matter. It's not just against airline policy, it's a serious federal offense. We're talking potential fines, jail time, and you guessed it, a one-way ticket to the no-fly list. And for good reason. Those doors are there for, well, emergencies. Opening one at 30,000 feet would be catastrophic, putting everyone on board at risk. Look, I get it. Flying can be stressful. You've got delays, cramped seats, crying babies. Sometimes you just want to scream, "Let me off this plane." But trust me, tampering with the emergency exit is not the answer. Not only is it incredibly dangerous, but it's also completely unnecessary. If you're feeling overwhelmed, talk to a flight attendant. They're trained to handle all sorts of situations and can help you manage whatever's going on. Remember, those emergency exits are there for a reason, and it's not to provide a quick escape from a boring in-flight movie. So, keep your hands to yourself, enjoy the ride, and let's all arrive at our destination safely and soundly. Well, folks, there you have it, a crash course in how to accidentally earn yourself a spot on the no-fly list. And trust me, it's not as exclusive as it sounds. From wardrobe malfunctions to overdoing it on the mini bottles, we've covered a lot of ground today. And while some of these stories might seem funny, the message is serious. Being aware of your actions and the potential consequences is crucial, especially when it comes to air travel. Remember, the rules are there for a reason, to keep everyone safe and ensure a smooth journey for all. So, the next time you're packing your bags or heading to the airport, keep these stories in mind. Stay informed, stay safe, and always be aware of your actions. Until next time, safe travels.